And I think there's something like shiny, like that might be like blinding my eye a little bit down on your table beside you. What is that?
Oh, this?
That? Tell us
Yeah.
more.
Okay. So Multiple Choice Mayhem won the eLearning Guild's DemoFest at Learning Solutions last year, and it won Best of Show non-vendor. And crazy, absolutely crazy. That whole process was crazy. So what was interesting about it is, Sean and I actually ended up presenting an assessment presentation about kind of the work that we did on Multiple Choice Mayhem, and it got accepted at Learning Solutions, which I lost it. It's always been like a huge dream of mine to go to an eLearning Guild event. And so I was like really excited. And then they had the call for things for DemoFest. And then to compete, you basically have to fill out a form, explain your product, give a link to it, etc. And then they select products to be part of the DemoFest, which is like a huge kind of science fair. And then we got selected, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is incredible. But then I was like, oh my gosh, is my stuff up to par with like what other people are doing?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're familiar with it, but basically you go in, they have this huge expo hall where everybody sets up. Everybody gets like a table, and it's just like a little round table, and you get 4 little chairs. So Sean and I both had our laptops, and then we both had iPads. And so we put a laptop or iPad at each chair. And what we were thinking was, because relatively it is a short interaction, it's like maybe 5-10 minutes max, depending.
Yeah.
We thought people could actually go through it. But as people were setting up, we saw these people like bring in these big, beautiful curved monitors. And, one person like had this big flag they put up by their table. And I'll never forget this. I looked at Sean, I was like, no way. I'm like, we're out of our league. Like, I mean, these people are pros. Like, I mean, there were people there from like the biggest vendors, people that are real big names in our industry were there. I was like, we don't have a chance. So we were put in the academic category. They have different categories, video business solution, nonprofit. They have all these different categories. We were an academic, and all of our tables were kind of in a row. I think there was like 9 of us. And then what they do is they open the doors, and everybody gets to vote. So you can vote for your favorite in each category. And we were very fortunate. Our table was near one of the bars. And so as people were in line, Sean and I were like selling our butts off. So we had those iPads. And as people were standing in line, we had Multiple Choice Mayhem, like showing them, whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was like, I think an hour and a half maybe for voting. It was a blur. I mean, we talked to a lot of people. A lot of people came over to our table. Like, I mean, I was drenched in sweat. He was drenched in sweat. I mean, we really left it all there, right? And then they were like announcing the winners, and I was like, well, we might have a chance. I don't know, because we did have a lot of people. And then they announced the winner for like the different categories. And they said, best in category goes to, it ended up being a really nice guy named Jeff Batt that won in the academic category. And all his stuff is beautiful. And I was really happy for him. I was like, that's so awesome. And he even came over. I know he saw like the disappointment on my face. And he's like, oh, you did good. And I was like, I appreciate it. So I'm kind of half listening at this point.
Yeah.
My friends are coming over, like, you did such a good job your first demo fest. We need to go out to dinner and celebrate, blah, blah, blah. And then they said, okay, and now it's the Best in Show award, and Best in Show had like the most votes, and it goes to Multiple Choice Mayhem.
Whoa.
And I just like stood there. And someone, I think it was Christy Tucker, she had to like push me to like go up on the stage, because I just froze. And it's so funny because the picture that the eLearning Guild took of Sean and I was so nervous, Kim. I was holding it upside down in the picture. So like you can look at the picture, I'm like holding it upside down. And I mean, it was so cool. And then I like FaceTimed my parents, because I'm that person. And like I started like crying.
On the stage? You're like,
oh no. No, I wasn't that cool. No, I wasn't that cool. Like after I got off stage, I FaceTimed my parents and told them that we had won, but I did not expect it. So, couple things. I'm retired. I'll never do DemoFest again because I'm undefeated, right? But 2, it was really cool, especially for DevLearn this year, because I was able to go to DevLearn last year. it's my obligation to encourage other people to submit.
Yeah.
I want people to know that their stuff is good enough. So I ended up meeting a gentleman, his name's Andy Lockwood. I ended up meeting him because I put on LinkedIn, I said, listen, if you're going to DevLearn, you think you're kind of on the fence about submitting something, talk to me. Like, I'll tell you about my experience. I'll help you any way that I can. And Andy ended up taking me up on that. And we become really good friends from that because, you know, I think he was a little bit on the fence. Kind of felt very similar, I think, that to how I did. But then, of course, you know, Kath Ellis was there. And I mean, she was just, oh my gosh, like the bar keeps extending up every time I see her put out something. So her table was just like hopping and bopping. I mean, you couldn't even to her table. And you know, tickled that she won. I mean, huge inspiration to me, and just a lovely woman. I mean, really great. But yeah, so it was interesting. But again, I'll never do DemoFest again because I can say I'm undefeated.
Yeah, I don't know why you would. I love it. Tell me, what tips do you have for writing your application, or for people out there? So first of all, mindset. Anyone should just go do it. You know, you got to there's a lot around imposter syndrome and all this kind of stuff. If you've got beyond that and you're just gonna like hit submit, what tips do you have?
Great. I think, again, relate it back to the performance, right? So I remember, like, in our application, I really said, you know, listen, the reason this is so important is because this is how these people are being evaluated in the effectiveness of their job, but yet they haven't necessarily always been formally trained in writing these appropriately. And I hope that was kind of a sticking point, but the Guild's really wanting you to, again, share it if you're able to. And again, I think that was another thing, and I told Andy Lockwood this too when we were talking about him for DemoFest. I think that really helped us, that you could actually digest our interaction pretty quickly, or at least get the vibe of it very quickly. Looking around in the chaos, I think a lot of people show bits and pieces of it, and we were able for people to just, you know, go through it. And we built a little short link out too, so even people that were standing there on their phones, I'm like, hey, go to this website, and it was just real quick for them to type in so they could also look at it. I think is another pro tip, because again, I know why some people can't show the whole thing for proprietary reasons, but because ours was built with grant money from a Department of Education, I can share it liberally, which I'm fortunate.
What how long did it take you to do it from start to finish?
Ooh, that question. For me, I think the hardest part was, again, writing it out, because I feel like technology can be really flashy and awesome, but if the content isn't there, it's not gonna stick. It's not gonna resonate. So after I made the decision to do the Ripley's Believe It or Not, writing out the storyboard, writing the questions poorly, picking the facts, all that stuff, maybe took me, I'd say, 6 to 8 hours. And then like building out like a little prototype, that didn't actually take too long. But I know Sean worked very hard on polishing this. So Sean did the voiceover. He found that cheesy music, which is brilliant. He made the little animation of the bulbs of multiple choice man, and the back and the end. And then, you know, kind of cleaned up a lot of the stuff that I did, because I can build, but I mean, he just has an eye for detail that I wish I had, that I don't. So I'd say all in, I would say it took a good maybe 60 to 80 hours, all said and done, going through the whole revision process, getting the stakeholder sign off, all that good stuff. So I'd say start to finish 60 to 80 hours would probably be a good guesstimate.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. What have you found inspiration? So that was chilling on the couch, and then the program comes on TV and you're like, boom, that's the one. Have you had any other kind of epiphanies just living life and then being like, that's going to be the next inspiration for my training?
Great question. So now what I do, because I work directly for one of the colleges at Ohio State, I don't work at the center anymore. I help faculty bring their courses online. So I was helping with like a research course. So it's called qualitative research, evaluation, and measurement, which again, really sexy topic, right? And this book had that the faculty was using had these like little case studies about different people, like, you know, what would you do, this kind of thing. And for some reason, again, I was sitting there, I'm like, I don't want to just put a PDF in there and have the students respond on a discussion board like Snooze Fest, right? Again, TV, right? Flipping through the channels, and I see Judge Judy, and I'm like, well, how cool would this be if this is like a courtroom, right? So it's like the people versus the evaluator was like the name of one of these case studies that I spun. It wasn't called that, but then I was like, okay. So then I asked the faculty member, okay, what would you want, you know, the people to show that they know what they're talking about? What would you like the evaluator to show? And then letting them get on teams or whatever. So I built this little like storyline, animated intro to it, and I took the music from like Night Court or something. It's like duh, duh, duh. You know, and it's like the people versus the evaluator, and it came in and explained a little bit more about the assignment. So it wasn't like a full interaction, but it just gave it, I think, more pizzazz around just kind of this pedestrian assignment that is in there. So I guess TV influences me a lot, but also video games. I'm a huge video game nerd. Currently playing Animal Crossing, even though I probably shouldn't be because I'm still in my PhD candidacy, but had to play it. And the thing that really inspires me for that is, you know, and this is an article I've shared on LinkedIn before, but I think if you're looking for a really great way to think about onboarding or, you know, opening up something, look at Super Mario Brothers level 1.1, right? So first time you play and you have no idea what you're doing, you're going to run into that first little Goomba, right? And they'll restart, and then what do? You figure out you're hitting buttons. Oh, look, I can jump, right? And so then you can jump over the Goomba and you're going, and then you come to your pipe and you're like, can't jump over this. You try it, whatever. And then as you're going through the level, it gradually gets more difficult. So if you remember like the first little, you know, rock little plateau, you go down and then you go down, and then there's not a thing for you to fall in between. But then the second one, you could fall, and so then you know to jump. So I look for inspiration like that for, like, you know, gradually introducing or bringing stuff in. I absolutely cannot stand two things in a lot of learning experiences. One, when you open up with the learning objectives, I mean, talk about snooze fest. I hate that. And two, making me watch something about showing me how to navigate through a module. You know, I mean, if I have to go through either of those, maybe I shouldn't be employed. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I just don't. I don't like those at all. I mean, I feel like you have such a short window to like hook somebody in. And I would much rather, you know, put the learning objectives like on a resource page, like in it or something like that. Like, nobody gives a hoot about your learning objectives. I'm sorry. Like, I've never read a learning objective and just felt inspired, right? I don't care. Like, I just want to get through it. I want to see the content. And then, you know, if I hit the learning objectives, obviously that's wonderful, but I just, can't stand it.
Well, I like that you're pulling from things in your life and that interest you. And I think that's something like to encourage people that are watching is, what is it that hooks you? What are you kind of paying attention to? What apps are you continuously opening? Which ones have hooked you to, like, you can feel your phone's over there and you're like, and then you want to check, like, have you got notifications or whatever is going on? So look at what it is that's hooking you. One of the things, we had a meeting last week with a client, and the whole idea was I needed to influence them away from information overload. And so I said, look, we want to try this idea. We're doing video, and they want to do role plays, but then they want it to be like, it's for like self-care, mental health sort of stuff. So they wanted something to play out and then to deal with that. How do you self-care? And so I spoke to the client, and I had done a lot of preparation to have this conversation. I was nervous, but the whole thing then was, we want to educate through entertainment. So what we had picked was things that are common in the world, like Judge Judy. I know her, like, you know, and I don't even watch that much TV. So we picked things like that, like 60 Minutes is one of them. And then another one is we have this, like, you know, like the morning Today shows that they have, and they have their two little characters on, and they're like bantering back and forth. So we're going to recreate that, and it's basically going to be like they're watching TV. So if we think one of them's going to be an aggressive customer, that's just, and we're going to do it like it's CCTV. So this crazy thing happens, and then it cuts to like the 60 minutes where it's like the victim and the interviewer saying, how did you deal with such a challenging interaction? You know, and we want to really dramatize it, but done, I guess, nicely, in a way that educates but also entertains. So it's like they're watching one of those shows, but we're like getting into their subliminal brain and teaching them. So I really like that, like, and when I told the client that, I was worried, I was like, it might be too extreme, you know, because they're a bit conservative and stuff, and they were hooked. They were like, there's a guy over here called Carl Stefanovic, he's one of the hosts on the TV show. He's a big personality, and I could see her reading the script, and she's like, I could see Carl saying that. Yes, we need our presenter to say that. So she was hooked because she could relate to it in her own life. So I do encourage people to like take on what you're saying and look for that inspiration in the real world, and just see how you can basically replicate it to educate.
Yeah, and I would say another inspiration source for me is the Articulate eLearning Heroes challenges.
Oh, yeah.
I do not participate because I am studying it for my dissertation, but there's a lot of wonderful people that post, and right now I think like the hottest star in the Articulate world is Jonathan Hill, and I think the reason he's a huge star right now is because he made a commitment almost a year ago to do a challenge a week for a year. And just watching his growth, and he's been so kind about like explaining his processes. He gives people his source files where people can download and play. It's really been awesome to watch and cheer him on, and just, again, seeing him elevate the bar of like what's possible with an e-learning authoring tool has just been fantastic to watch. So even just going there and just seeing what people are doing, how they approach a different prompt, a lot of times you can get new ideas just from looking at that.
Yeah, that's cool. I will be contacting Jonathan. I don't know who he is yet, but he will be on the show.
I will make an introduction. He's fantastic.
Oh, excellent. That's so cool.